I don't even know what episode this is, and I almost don't care if there's an episode number to it because um, I'm not sure I can really do this. If I were going to label this, I would call it Tortured Soul. I want to give a warning on here. If anybody is not feeling safe, is feeling suicidal, or is otherwise unwell, please talk to a family member or friend. Reach out if you can, if you're comfortable calling the National Suicide Hotline, or if you're in Oregon, there is a warm line. And I will try to link that stuff down in the description, but you can actually Google or Ecosia or DuckDuckGo or whatever you're using for the Oregon Warm Line. I'm not sure if that's available in other states. I'm sorry if I sound like a mental health advertisement, but when I talk about serious topics, I feel the need to at least state that because I am not endorsing somebody ending their life or taking their life by discussing how I feel. And I don't want somebody to misunderstand what I'm saying and then maybe go, I don't know, do something that they wouldn't have ordinarily done. So that was a long introduction and personal announcement. But at any rate, the problem that I'm having, so what I feel right now is I feel like if my furnace is on, or I feel like a freight train's going by. That's what I feel like a freight train's going by. Probably in the back, about 20 feet from the backyard. So I feel like the whole house is shaking to a degree. It's more like the bed now. So the only time I ever had this, to my recollection, where it's getting to, other than, I think I had it a little with Coxsackie too, but I really can't remember much. It's horrible that time. I can remember it, but I can't remember that symptom. But 2010, I went up, I think it was 2010, I went up to a dermatologist, and I wrote a piece called Storms and Earthquakes, so I'm going to reference that. It's online. I will try to link the Pursuit of Happiness blog I used to have. And I had an encounter in Vancouver, Washington, in a dermatologist's office, and I have recounted that whole thing in living detail, so I don't want to go through it here. But basically, when I walked into that office and I walked through this little small area in the front, and there's like a stairwell, I opened the door to the stairwell, and it felt like it was just like super loud. And I was like, what? It felt like I was in a stadium, and I was like, why are they having this lights be so powerful? Like, is that really necessary? And I took a ran up the stairs because at this point I actually, even with my incapacitation, I was still capable of running up the stairs, I think. I'm pretty sure I did it. And I ran up the stairs and I got into the room and I spent, an inordinate amount of time filling out paperwork and for no reason. And then I remember sitting there thinking, how can these people all sit here while an earthquake's going on? While this building shakes. And the floor shakes. And we all sit here and act like this is normal. Whatever. I'll just finish my paperwork. It's kind of hard to concentrate, too. With all the pain I had in my body that I was trying to pretend I wasn't having so I could get the injection in my ear. Because if he knew I had pain and it was going through all my body, he might not have wanted to do that injection. It's more evidentiary. Or doctors don't care. Specialists are going to treat your ear anyway. It's almost like it's not even connected to your body. So I go into this room and I'm in there and I'm like, the doctor's going to mention the earthquake. There's no way we're going to get to this appointment. Nothing. He just does the injection during the earthquake. And then I'm leaving. I'm like, I have to make an appointment during this shit. This just keeps going. This is longer than half an hour. All I wanted to do is get the fuck out of the office because first of all, the guy's telling me it's from sleeping on my side and I've switched sides and now it's on the other side and he told me it's from that. So I'm done. I know something's wrong with me and this isn't working. So I make my appointment and I walk out. I think I took the elevator this time. I can't remember. I'm not positive. It might be in my writing. It's probably a more accurate place to look. But I got the hell out of the building for sure. And when I walked out of the door, it was instantaneous. It stopped. And I was like, okay, For one thing, this is in my body. It's in my, my body is at war with itself. And the second thing I thought is, I need to get home and see if there's an earthquake. It just stopped. And the third thing I thought is, thank God that stopped. And that was not, probably not an earthquake. I did think that. And now, as I'm sitting in this house and I'm feeling like somebody has their engine idling outside or is ready to take off from the Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, it is difficult to want to do this. Okay? Again, I'm not saying that somebody should end their life. I'm not. I'm having an open discussion because what we can do is we can keep stuff inside, but you know what happens? Because a lot of guys keep stuff inside. And here's what I think is happening with those men. They're keeping it inside, but maybe not all the way. And I'm not making excuses here. This is not about DV. If somebody's abusing you, that's a really complex situation. I don't want to comment on it, but call a DV hotline. Be really careful. That's something that you got to work through stuff. But these guys, that just, kind of don't talk about young kids, teenagers sometimes. They feel angry and they don't want to talk about it like I am. I'm not an angry person, so if I start feeling angry because of something, it's a problem. Okay, and so you have this young guy or young kid, and I've seen some women like this, a lot of women like this, because I'm a lucky person that way. Sorry. So they get really frustrated, and they got all that pent up anger. And what my concern is that we have an issue that we can deal with socially, or we can choose to look away from it because this is a problem, and it's a problem that has to be fast tracked to try to find a solution. Sometimes we have to fast track stuff. Sometimes we do. And I don't mean through some vaccine or some, it may be herbs. It may be something that we have overlooked. I am not ashamed to admit that I listened to Charlie Goldsmith on Facebook. He's well known. He's on Amazon Prime. If you don't like it, actually you can walk away if you don't like what I have to say. The reason why is because some of us are trying to get well. And we're willing to turn to what we can within reason. I have listened to him. He seems like the real deal to me. A real deal. I've seen a number of people that are not too genuine in medicine, outside of medicine, and naturopathic medicine and herbal medicine. Yes, all the different medicines. You name it, I've seen it. Fake Chinese medicine. It's hard for me to describe that one. And, so I'm not into watching healers. I don't even like the word. But I've only used it with a couple of people. Few. I have 2 herbalists locally. I definitely, and there are people connected to them that I respect. And then this person. I wouldn't say that beyond my local herbalist, anyone has done energetic work on me other than my daughter that worked. And my daughter was not trained in any kind of energy work. She's just did it, and I guess we called it Reiki, but I don't know. So, if people that aren't open to that, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe think on it, if you're listening and you've listened this long, then you're at least open to it. But I am tortured myself, and I'm trying to keep the will to go. Like, I can't describe how this feels. I told somebody, just imagine cell phones vibrating inside your chest, and now at this point down my spine and in my hips, and then all that vibratory sensation going down your legs, and then you have a weird crawling tendon sensation. It almost feels like your body can't stay together, and it's like there's like, if you imagine just tight strings holding all your body together, you're almost like you're partially into the fetal position, so you stand up. It's like cords are stretching out, but not quite right. And I actually think there's something going on in my tendons. And for somebody to say, "Oh, well, just suffer through it," like you shouldn't express your feelings of frustration or anger or inner turmoil or torture, because this is torture. that person doesn't understand what I'm going through then. This is absolute hell. And honestly, I think it's characteristic of what people call Lyme disease, or usually Lyme's disease. And I think it's also characteristic of other infectious agents like Bartonella, babesiosis, even I think toxoplasmosis, which is, think of cats. And then a lot of viral infections, we got on the scene COVID, but certainly not alone. Coxsackie wreaked havoc on my life, and I'm no scientist and I'm no doctor, but I'm going to tell you, I've been a patient for a long time. I've had a lot of this stuff. All these herpes viruses, these things all affect us. And they affect our brain and our nervous systems. And unfortunately, they almost want to kind of, these organisms, because I'm going to talk about them the way that Stephen Buhner did and other people do, they're intelligent and they thrive. It's not even necessarily their fault, okay? They thrive in an environment that's out of control. They thrive in a stressful environment, right? So if you're all screwed up, these pathogens are like having a great time. They're like having a party. And if you're there, you have to try and find a way to calm it down, or else you could lose it. And I don't usually say that kind of thing. So when I say that, it means something. I've always had depression. Depression you pretty much want to do yourself in. And I don't want to harm anyone. That's not what I'm saying. It's just I'm more agitated. I can't handle the outside noise. So that leads a person down deep, dark pathways. It does. And at the end of those pathways, if you're someone like me, here's what you conclude. At some point, this has to stop, or I have to stop. Because at some point, I will reach break point where I cannot handle the stimuli, whatever it is. Like I said, it sounds like a Ford F-150 is parked out in my driveway right now and just having a good time with me. And I've actually gone out the front door and started to yell at someone. But there was no one there. Because, well, no one was outside doing anything. And I remember getting super pissed off at the city of Milwaukee. And I wasn't like gonna go do anything at the city of Milwaukee. It's stupid. But they were working. But it was in the middle of the night. They weren't working. I don't think they were down there working. And I had my head down on the carpet. My daughter was there with me. It was our furnace actually that night, I think. And we were down on the ground, and both of us have noise sensitivity, because if she's doing it, I wouldn't have done that pre this. We had this furnace. It was fine when it was put in, which was late July, 2021. But by August, September, it wasn't so fine. And so, but I remember we were sleeping downstairs, and one morning, I got up, I think I woke up one morning, and I was like really mad, and I was at the front door, and I was ready to, tell whomever off, tell the city off even. And then I kind of stopped myself, and I was like, you can't just tell someone off. First of all, I can't just tell someone off. Secondly, there's no one out here. And I remember I talked to this guy, I'm not going to use any names, but he worked up north where I went to a store, and he had COVID for about a week. And he had always had ear problems that would crop up, as I remember, and he'd get inner ear disturbance. And I told him about what I was having, which is this inner ear disturbance. I think minor, I can't think of, I don't know how to pronounce it, but think of the inner ear disturbance in the cochlear area. And he said that he had that, and he went to his window when they were using a leaf blower, and he's like, do you care about anybody at all? He was like fucking losing it. And then he went up to his neighbor's house, pounding on their door, like, are you crazy? Turn your radio down. And he said he was coming unglued. When I told him how long mine had been going on, because by that point, I actually was only counting from October of 2021. I didn't count back to August. I don't count before October. I can't mentally stand it. It's too much for me. I think other people might count it, but I don't. And so October, I think I was talking to him maybe in December. And he was like, what? You've had this long? And he looked like he couldn't conceive of it. That if that went on that long, he gave me some advice. So you could try this. I'm not saying it'll work. Basically, take a rice or beans, put in some sort of sock, tie the sock off. If you have a microwave, I don't advise microwaves, and I'm not going to. But if you have one anyway, you may as well use it. You can heat it up in there. You want to look that stuff up. And then if not, you can heat it up in the oven. Be careful with the fabric. Some of those fabrics have bad stuff on them. It's best to use cotton fabric. 100% organic cotton fabric. You don't want to heat up stuff with pesticides on it. If you can't do that, at least use stuff that's been washed over and over and over again. So I gave some ideas. And you put that on your ear for probably 5-10 minutes or something. A couple times a night. It helped him immensely. But in my case, I have revving of the nervous system. Right now, my ears aren't even bothering me. It just feels like there's a cell phone going off in me. This is not fun. So if anybody has any ideas of how to calm down the nervous system, besides it, please, like just breathe doesn't work. I don't want to hear it. I'm already trying. Meditation. Actually, if you got ideas on meditation, like just guided stuff that's interesting and good, that will help. But any kind of herbs or anything that might calm stuff down, that would be nice to hear about. And just anybody else, how they feel about that subject. Because honestly, if you watched the second part to Under Skin, which I cannot remember the name of, it could have been Emergence. In there, I can't reference what they talked about, but if you go, you will be able to handle it better than I can. I can't handle this type of stuff. But you shouldn't be listening to too much stuff. If you're listening to me, you probably have issues. But if you're able to listen to Emergence, there's a part in there where they talk about a certain situation that keeps happening in the United States. And they surmise that the person involved actually had Lyme disease. And the thing is that I had to skip through a lot of that. So but I got the gist. And basically the gist is he wasn't sleeping. He was having all these symptoms. What struck me is those are all the symptoms that I have. So I guess we're fortunate that a lot of people with infectious disease have a hold of themselves. Is that what we're counting on? I'm going to tell you something. I see people come unhinged all the time. I'm not sure we should be counting on that. In fact, I'll go one step further. We should not be counting on it. We need to use all of our resources to stop this. That's going to do it for tonight for me, and it is really my good night because it is too late for me to be up, but we're wrapping stuff up here. We have had some good times. I mean, I was able to make some gloves today. It was frustrating, but I crocheted some fingerless gloves. I kind of had to come up with a pattern of my own because people don't use cameras and they don't utilize stuff. It's weird. Really weird. Man, we would have killed for this stuff in the 80s, and we wouldn't have used our hands so much. I don't even know how I wrote. But Sarah's finishing up a sock here. She's getting ready to do her second sock. We're doing some fun stuff at least. It's just in the middle of that for some reason. It feels like a jet is constantly going on, or Ford F-150, which is basically the same thing to me, by the way. Jet, Ford, F-150, lawnmower. It's all the same. Until you bring in those chainsaws. You bring in those, and those are a deal breaker, man. And here, you know what? And I know this is going to make this longer, but I do want to talk about one more thing. The thing that makes this hard is that I'm actually afraid to go out. I'm afraid to go out, like, even though it's horrible in here, I'm afraid to go out into the street. Like someone will honk their horn for fun or turn their music on because they're an idiot or a diet. And I'm afraid all the time. I'm afraid someone's going to have their stupid car alarm go off because we need car alarms. And we do kind of need them because everyone's stealing everything. I don't know what to do anymore. Anyway, that's making me more tortured. I mean, ask yourself this question. How long would you want to continue in a state where it felt like you were being bombarded by the Chicago O'Hare International Airport before you felt like maybe somebody should help? Disability, it should be a given when you're in my shape. I'm so over this. What the hell? I know it's going to cost us social programs. I don't know what to say. The people who can work should be able to do it. You know how I know? I sat and crocheted today. I finished a set of socks. I haven't crocheted in quite a long time, except for in 2020 once. And it was my own pattern. I crocheted. The sock wasn't my pattern, but I had to kind of modify it. I've helped my daughter here in crocheting. I have other projects going. So I guarantee you, people who are able-bodied, get to work. Whether it's online or not. You don't have to go out. I understand. You're scared. But get to work. Stop talking about those of us who can't. It's your job to pull that. You have to. And if you're Christian or you're religious, Islam, I don't care what you are. Agnostic with the ethics system, that's okay. You probably didn't even hear it. Atheist with an ethics system, if you believe in Judaism or you practice Judaism, I don't care. Live your life right. Okay, now I'm going to say goodnight. Bye.